welcome back. I'm Di, and today I am bringing you another Yarnie update. It's been 4 or 5 months since I filmed the Yarnie update for you. Yeah, the weather was really scorching here, and in my house it gets even more scorching, and so filming was a bit difficult over the summertime. But as I mentioned in my Christmas traditions tag video, I now have an office, ta-da! So I can film during my lunch breaks and such. So I decided to film a Yarnie update video for you today. I did finish quite a few things since I've talked to you last, and unfortunately some of them were gifts, so I no longer have them, and since I'm filming at the office, I forgot to pack them. So I will try to insert photos right here for you to see what I'm talking about. But I guess I'll start with what I'm wearing. So let me stand up for you. This is my Mercury pullover. I knit this at the beginning of this year. This is by Patty Waters, so the pattern is called Mercury Pullover by Patty Waters. I knit this in Knit Picks Wool of the Andes worsted in the color Garnet Heather, and I'm very happy with the result. And if I turn around, let me see, you should be able to see that the patterning continues all the way down the back as well. Let me sit back down. So this was quite a beast of a project. I think I mentioned on my Ravelry project page that the instructions for this particular sweater were very confusing and not clear, and I ended up just trying to do my own thing, and I think it came out rather well considering. I'm very happy with this. It seems to fit me well, and yeah, so this was like my first big project for 2018. So now I think I will catch you up on the projects that I finished since I talked to you last. So I've got Ravelry up here, so I will be referring to this screen right here rather regularly. So the first thing I finished was the Changing Leaves hat. This was a test knit for the Budget Knitter, and I'll link his podcast down in the description box below. It was his first pattern release, I believe. The pattern is now available on Ravelry and under the name Will Sparger, which is his real name. I knit this in Bakery Bear's Cottage Devonshire base, which is a MCN blend in the Murder in Mesopotamia colorway. This was part of the Agatha Christie special collection release that the Bakery Bears did at the beginning of 2018 for their patrons. And so yeah, this was a pretty easy hat to knit. It is a fingering weight hat, and yeah, I'm very happy with the result. So that was the first thing I finished since I talked to you last. The next thing I finished was the Cascading Colors Mitered Blanket. This one is by Karen Design Team. I was working on this for my cousin's wedding as a wedding present. This one was done in Hobby Lobby. I love this yarn in the colors Dark Denim, Light Sage, and Gray Mist. This one took me forever to finish. Not that it was like taxing or anything, I just didn't enjoy this project. I think it mostly had to do with the colors. Now I'm okay with the gray and the navy. But once I got to the green, I just wasn't feeling it. But it was their wedding colors, so that's why I chose those colors. I shipped that off to them in September, I believe. I have not heard from them regarding it. My cousin lives in a totally different state, so I don't even know like if they liked it or even if they received it. But USPS tracking says they did. Hopefully that's correct information. But yeah, I was super happy to get this one done. I think it came out rather nice. The only modification that I made was that instead of 4 colors, I used 3. But yeah, really happy with that one. Then the next thing I made was a baby harvest. This was from the Harvest cardigan pattern by Tin Can Knits, which is the free pattern on Ravelry. And I ended up doing this one in a partial cake of Lion brand mandala yarn. If you watched my Christmas tag video, I mentioned that I didn't know anyone who was having a baby, and I totally forgot I had made this. I made this for a coworker. I don't know her very well, but the office was throwing her a baby shower, and so I wanted to contribute. And so instead of spending the normal amount of time that I would have on a close personal friend or a relative, I whipped this one up for her. It's a really easy pattern. I really liked the way the colors flowed, and yeah, it was really quick knit, and she seemed happy to have it, so that was the next thing I finished. After that, I did a sweater for my daughter. I did the lace knit pullover. This one I found in a magazine that was available on Kindle Unlimited. This one, I can't remember what the magazine was called, but it is available from African Expressions for free on the internet. And I will link the pattern down in the description box below. It is not in Ravelry's database, but the PDF is available for free online. This one was knit in pieces and then seamed together. I ended up using leftover yarn from another project I had did last year, and it was Patton's North America Classic Wool Worsted in the colors Cognac Heather and Natural. And I ended up doing an extra small because my gauge swatch, I couldn't get a needle small enough that would work with worsted weight. I ended up just sizing down, and it came out fine. It seems to fit my daughter really well. It is a little bit short, but she will be wearing it with like a tank or a shirt underneath anyway. So yeah, I'm really happy with how this one turned out. I think I had a little bit of a problem with the way the pattern was written. Like I mentioned, it was knit in pieces, so there was a front panel, a back panel, the 2 sleeves, and then you seam it all together, and then you add the neckband. The front, I ended up doing the front first, and there is some shaping in it. There's some waist shaping and then bust shaping, and then when you got to the back section, it says do the same as for the front. Well, I understand the waist shaping on the back, but not the bust shaping. So when I did the back, I did the waist shaping only and did not do the bust increases. And then I just made sure that the number of stitches on each section of the pattern matched up so that the fit was okay. I also had a little bit of problems getting the lace pattern done on the sleeve the first time. the instructions weren't very clear. Like I think it would say like to skip your first 2 stitches because those are going to be your seam stitches. So you should start on the pattern skipping the 2 stitches, but that's not how the lace pattern was written. So I ended up working the beginning of the first sleeve a couple of different times before I got it right. And then when it got to the short row shaping on the shoulder, that was also difficult to figure out how to get the shaping in without distorting the lace pattern. So all in all, it was a learning experience, and I think it came out okay. My daughter's happy with it, so yeah, that I think was the last thing I oh no. I also did a pair of Halloween socks, my first pair of Halloween socks. This was done in a ball of self-striping yarn from Night Owl Fibers. It's in her Strong Twist base in the color Block Party. I am always trying to learn something new in regards to, projects or how I approach things and different things like that. So on this particular one, it was going to be my first vanilla sock. Not my first vanilla sock. My very first sock that I ever worked on. I think I mentioned it to you before. I had done one sock and I never did the second one. So this year, since I've done a couple of different socks, I thought, okay, it should be okay to try a vanilla sock now. And I used my own measurements based on socks that I had done previously. And I tried a different heel. I tried the strong heel, and I actually used it from a pattern called Heather Socks featuring strong heel by Nicolette Kernahan, and it is a free pattern. Ravelry will link you to her blog post, which shows you or explains how to do the strong heel. This heel was interesting because you don't have to pick up stitches on the side. You just kind of increase until you have double of the stitches for the heel instead of the front part of your sock, and then you decrease those away. So I really like how these turned out. I did them a little bit mismatching just because it was easier for me to not have to stress about making sure that the stripe sequence matched up, and because these are only 3 color stripes, you can't really tell that they don't match up. And the heels are different colors as well, which is fine with me. I have already worn these socks once. I really like them. The toe I ended up using was from one of Kay Jones's sock patterns from her Miss Potter Sock Club. She calls it her umbrella toe, and it's basically just like a rounded toe, and I really liked that. I did do these socks in conjunction with Durab Creations Halloween Make Along, which is run by Nicole at the Durab Creations podcast. I will link it down in the description box below. And yeah, I'm really happy with those, and they fit really well. I'm not sure how this heel's gonna hold up because this year was really my first year to make socks, and I haven't worn a bunch of my handmade socks already. I think I've worn each pair one time so far. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that heel wears, but I really like those socks, and I have enough, I think, to make my daughter another pair. That's another something that's interesting with how I am discovering my journey on socks, I guess. Discovering my journey, is that the right thing? How I'm learning as I create socks, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I know a lot of people have like leftover sock yarn from when they make their own pairs of socks, but my daughter and I don't really like socks that have long leg portions on the sock, so we prefer a shorty type sock. So our strategy is to kind of share a hank of sock yarn, and so far I haven't actually completed more than one pair of socks in any sock yarn that I have. So I think something that I will be doing next year is to use up the sock yarn that I have left over from all of the socks that I made this year, and see if I'm actually able to get 2 pairs of socks out of that one hank. My daughter's feet and my feet are about the same size, so it should be interesting. Hers are a little more narrow, so I've been using a little less stitches on her socks, so that probably will help me be able to make more than 1 pair out of one hank. Is that it? Oh, no, that's not. Okay, there was one more thing that I made, and I talked about this on my last Yarnie update. I was working on the flax sweater by Tin Can Knits. This is a free pattern on Ravelry. I was working this one out of mandala yarn in the colorway Genie, and I really like how this one turned out. I did this one for a knit along of the flax sweater with the Budget Knitter podcast, who I mentioned earlier, and yeah, I've worn this one a couple times already. I really like it. I think if I were to make it again though, I would make one size smaller. I ended up going for an extra large just based on the measurements given on the pattern, and it's more of a relaxed sweater fit. There's lots of room, so I think an extra large would have been plenty for me, not to be fitted, but there would still be room, so it would be comfortable but not as relaxed as it is right now. But I really like how it came out. It is very comfortable. Like I said, I've worn it a couple times already, and yeah. So that is all of the things that I finished since I talked to you last. So now let me get into, since we're already talking about finished items, let me get into what I've finished most recently. So my finished items are living in one of my newest bags. This one is from, what is it called? Utterly Adorable Knits. I've bought bags from her before, and I got this one off her Black Friday sale, and it is Sesame Street. I really like her bags. She gets some really cute fabric. So if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably already seen these projects, but the first finished item I'm going to share with you is this pair of mittens. This is the Royal Embrace mittens by Drops Design, and I will show you a little bit better. There's some mock cabling going up the side, and it kind of wraps around here, and I'll explain what I did in a little bit. This is a free pattern. Did I mention that already? It's a free pattern from Drops Design, and I did this one in I Love This Chunky yarn from Hobby Lobby in the color Midnight Teal, which I happened to get on clearance last year, and I don't normally use chunky weight yarn, but I had 2 skeins of this, and it was just looking for the right project, and I ended up using it for this. So It doesn't get really cold where I live, at least not cold enough for me to wear mittens. But I did these in conjunction with the Climb Every Mountain Knit Along, which is being hosted by the Bakery Bears. It's their year-long patron-only knit along, and with the theme this year, there was an kind of challenge to fill your rucksack. So since we're climbing mountains, we were going to fill our rucksack with warm things. And so I think there were 5 things that you could endeavor to make to fill your rucksack. And if you make all of these things, you get entered in for other prizes. And so I think it's a sweater or coat, a pair of socks, a scarf or cowl, a pair of mittens or gloves, and a hat. And so I finished my sweater really early, which was this one, the Mercury pullover. That's what I used for my entry on that for the rucksack. And then I finished my pair of socks, which I believe were the All Is Calm socks, which I finished in like March. So of course I procrastinated. And because I don't wear mittens very often or hats, it was kind of like a difficult thing for me to find a pattern that I liked, I guess. Now I did do that falling leaves hat like I mentioned, but it is fingering weight, and it obviously wouldn't keep you warm when you're climbing up like Everest, so that one wouldn't count. But I did find this set, and I'll talk to you about the other piece that I made from this pattern. But yeah, I really like these mittens. I'll put one on for you so that you can see. It comes down rather far on, this is my wrist right here, so it comes down pretty far, and it's just like a squared off handle and thumb, and it's plenty roomy, and I really like them. So after these mittens, I proceeded to make the hat, and I'm sorry I'm not going to put this one on for you, but here's the hat, and you can see that it has the same mock cabling design with a seed stitch panel right here, and then it's just got some garter ridges. So the girl on the pattern kind of wears it like this, with the V in like the front of her head with this design on the side. I suppose you could even wear it like this way. I guess it just depends on what you'd prefer. But yeah, I had my daughter model this one for me so that I could take a picture of it. Again, in the same yarn, I Love This Chunky in Midnight Teal. It is an acrylic yarn, but it doesn't really matter to me that it's acrylic. I'm not really like picky as far as my yarn choices goes in regards to only using wool or whatever for garments. But yeah, so now I have a pair of mittens and a hat for my rucksack. Now all I need to do is finish my shawl, which I have not worked on recently, so I did not bring it with me, and I will not be talking about it in this update. But if you want to see it, I believe I talked about it in my last Yarnie update. It's the Ollivander shawl by Kay Jones. And so the last thing that I finished recently, and I finished all of these items within the last week. So yeah, the last thing that I finished, and the reason why I am filming my Yarnie update before my book review, even though I've got a ton of books to talk about, are these socks. These are the Hermione's Everyday Sock Pattern by Erica Luder. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I'm sure you've heard of this pattern before. Lots of people make it. It's like a 4 pattern repeat, and I did contrasting heels and toes just because that will help me conserve on some yarn so that I can get a pair of socks out of this yarn as well. This is done in the Lolo Did It colorway of Ghostbusters. So this was supposed to be done for my daughter by Halloween time, and I had every intention of getting that done, but it just didn't happen. So this is the Ghostbusters colorway, and the heels and toes are in Knit Picks Hollyberry stroll fingering. This Lolo Did It base, in case you are interested in it, is the L'Original base, and let me pull up the information. I'm not quite sure what the content of this base is off the top of my head, but hold on one second. It's 85% merino wool and 15% nylon fingering weight. I recently discovered Lolo Did It from watching the Relatively Crafty podcast, and she used to be a booktuber, and my friend Lizzie over at Lizzie Faye Loves Books had recommended her to me. So I've been watching her podcast and really enjoying her videos, and she has been doing the Lolo Did It sock knit along, I think, where she does a pair of socks in Lolo Did It yarns, 1 pair every month for the year. And so I've been really interested in the colorways that she's been using, and it was like in September, I think, that I finally decided to go to the Lolo Did It website and take a look, and I saw this colorway called Ghostbusters, and I just had to have it. I ended up calling these socks the Do-Re Egon socks, and if you've watched Ghostbusters 2, you know where that reference comes from. It's one of my favorite lines from Ghostbusters 2. And so, yeah, I'm really happy with these. They fit my daughter perfectly. I ended up doing 56 stitches on a size 2.25 needle. And I pretty much followed the pattern, except for the toe. I ended up using Kay Jones's umbrella toe again. And so, yeah. So I still have enough yarn to make some socks for me, I hope. And obviously I've got a lot of this Hollyberry color to use for cuffs, heels, and toes. So that is all of the items that I finished. Now onto works in progress. I've really only got one thing that I've been working on religiously, I guess, because it's a present for my dad, and I can safely say at this moment it will not make it to him by Christmas. I did get him something else small, so that will make it to him by Christmas, but this, I conceived the idea for it really late, and you know, I've kind of been a crafter all my life, but I've never actually made my dad something. I mean, I've made him like the little, like, you know, ornaments and things that you make at school for your parents when you're in school, but I've never made him anything. So I thought it would be nice for him to have a sweater. He is retiring next year, I believe. I think so. I talked to him this year when he came to visit, and I think those plans have changed, so I think it was supposed to be the year after next year, but I believe he's retiring this year instead. But yeah, he is a grandpa. Obviously, I have a daughter, but my brother also has 2 daughters as well, and they are much younger than my daughter is. But yeah, so I thought it would be nice for him to have like a grandpa cardigan or something. And so I started working on this cardigan for him. Let me pull up the project because I don't know what it's called. I think it's has something to do with the color block, and I will show you in a minute. It's called the Men's Color Block Zip Jacket by Wallace Shaw. It is a free pattern on Ravelry. I'm housing it right now in this bag, which is another bag my mother made for me in some witch hat fabric. So I might have to stand up to show this to you. I've gotten some good progress done. So, let me see. Okay, so this is the sweater. And then if I put it up like this, you can see the bottom. And then this is the back. And I have one sleeve done. One sleeve. So like I said, this is supposed to be a cardigan, and with the amount of time it took me to seam up my daughter's sweater, the one that I had mentioned earlier as a finished object, because I thought about this project so late and the fact that I didn't have a lot of time to do it, I converted this pattern into a in the round pattern, which means that if I want to have it as a cardigan, it's got to be steeked. Now, as I mentioned, I always try to find like new ways to do things or try to teach myself new techniques, and steeking is something that I've never done before. I've seen some people say that you can only do it on wool yarn, but I've also seen people say that they've done it on acrylic. This is acrylic yarn. It is leftovers from my cousin's mitered square blanket that I talked about earlier. So what I ended up doing was working it in the round until I like around here, and you can see my steek panel in between here. So I will actually be steeking all the way up to the neckline up here once I finish the other sleeve, because I just think it's easier to work the sleeves if I don't have the front and front sides flapping all over the place. So yeah, I ended up working in the round until I absolutely had to start working flat to separate for the armholes. And so I worked the front and the back flat, and then I seamed the shoulders together, and then I didn't want to work the sleeve flat. I wanted to work it in the round from the shoulder down, because again, that would be the fastest way, I think, to do it. So I found a tutorial, and I think it was on a blog. Hold on one second. Yes, I used a tutorial from a blog, and it was from the By Gum By Golly blog, and the post is called How to Knit Seamless Set-In Sleeves from the Top Down. So I just used her instructions. It's not a video. It's just like written instructions on her blog, and it was really, really clear instructions and really helpful information. So another technique that I learned, because you have to do some short row shaping on the shoulder to attach the sleeve. It's not like with a raglan sleeve where you're already increasing and you don't need to do like the shoulder cap. And I've never done that before, to do like wraps and turns and how to figure out how to get the shoulder on. So yeah, used her tutorial. I think it came out pretty good. So that's what it looks like. I'm also terrible at seaming, which is another reason why I didn't want to have to seam things together. So yeah, that's that side. That's the side that I'm working on, and this is the side that's done. It's not perfect, but you know, it's a handmade item, and I think my dad will still appreciate it. And it's not like, it's all connected. And I think when it's on, you're not going to be able to see any, like, there are a little bit of there's a little space in between some of the pickups, and I'm not sure how to fix that, but I think it's okay. It should be okay. And like I said, I think he will appreciate it regardless, because I made it for him. At least I hope that he still appreciates it because I made it for him. I've already put in 3 skeins of yarn in this, and I've got about this much left of my 3rd skein to finish up the arm. And then there is a neck band, like a collar part to put on. So modifications. I've already talked to you about changing it from worked flat in pieces to worked in the round, and then I will be steeking. I changed the flat worked sleeves into set-in sleeves worked in the round. The other modification I made was, you know, this color work piece right here, this waffle like design, that is supposed to also continue across the arm as well as on the collar. I think I knew I didn't have enough to do the color work on the arm, so I knew right away that I was going to omit that. I was hoping to be able to do the color work still on the collar. I'm gonna try, but this is all I have left to do that. So I will try and see how that comes along. If not, I'll just make a regular plain gray color, because I know I have enough yarn for that. One other modification I made was that this pattern only goes up to large. There's size small, medium, and large, and my dad needs an extra large. At least I think that's all he needs. It looks fine. It looks like it's about the right size. My mom's a sewer, and so she was like looking at the measurements and stuff, and she told me it should be okay. Now, even though my parents have been divorced for a long time, my dad, we kind of still know my dad's size, his current size, and so this should be fine. And because it's a cardigan, it's going to be open anyway, so I think it should be okay. So yeah, I increased the pattern to be an extra large. So yeah, that is all that I am working on right now. When I'm done with this, I will be working on my Ollivander shawl for my rucksack because I only have until the end of the year, and that's like a week away. But yeah, so that's all I have for you today. As far as acquisitions go, and I know I had said before that I don't really want to talk about like acquisitions, because a lot of times I will purchase something because I like it, not necessarily that I know what project I'm going to use it for. But I did purchase a yarn advent calendar this year. For those of you who are unaware, yarn advent calendars are usually 24 mini skeins of sock yarn, or some people do sock yarn or other types of yarn with little gifts and knickknacks and things like that. But you get a gift every day. And I had seen yarn advent calendars for the first time last year. Obviously, by the time I had heard about them, it was already December and nobody was selling yarn advent calendars anymore, so I made it a point to make sure to buy one for myself this year. And so I bought the one from Pineapple Yarn, and I'll link her shop below. She used to live in Hawaii, and so a lot of her like colorways have to do with Hawaii, either places or things that are like in Hawaii. And so yeah, I ended up picking up her advent calendar and I'm really enjoying it. But I do have today's advent mini, so let me pull that out and I'll share that with you because I haven't opened it yet. So the advent minis all came in boxes like this, and they each have a little number on it to tell you what day it was. Now the one that I got was just the 24 mini skeins. I could have opted to get an extra full skein for Christmas, so a 25th gift, but I decided not to. And I just got the 24 mini skeins. And then in the box there was some saltwater taffy, a Progress Keeper that was a Christmas tree, and a sock size project bag. And the theme for this set was the beach. Now all of these mini skeins are labeled, but they're labeled advent number and whatever day it is. It doesn't tell you what her inspiration was for the colorway, but we were told at the beginning that the theme was going to be the beach. So I've just opened the box while I was talking to you, and this is today's skein. So it is pink with lots of multicolored speckles, red, yellow, green, and some hot pink. And this is her Yarnie sock base, and you can see number 17 Advent 2018. And so yeah, I've been opening them every day, and if you're interested to see what colors I got on each day, you can check my Instagram feed, and I've been trying to post them every day. I may not post each one every day, but they are all up there as of today. And I'm really enjoying like seeing something new every day. Not sure what I'm gonna do with them yet. I kind of think I need to see what they all look like before I decide. But a lot of people are doing like Cozy Memories blanket, or the Northeasterly that came out this year, or the Granny Stripe blanket. And I don't really want to do a blanket. I want to be able to make more use out of these skeins. So my thought is that I'm going to want to make a top. Now I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to make, and I had a good thorough search through Ravelry a couple times, and I haven't seen anything similar to what I am looking for, so I may have to come up with a design myself. I'm not sure about that because obviously, and I don't know how these designers do it, like really, I don't want to try to create something using these skeins, so I'm gonna have to like go out and buy some cheaper sock weight yarn to try to work out that pattern. But I have seen a pattern for a mitered square type top, which I may give a go instead, but like I said, I will have to see what all of these skeins look like together before I come to a final decision as to what I want to do with them. But I think it's definitely going to be a top. Yeah, so that is all I've got for you today. I know it was a long one, but I did have a lot to catch you up on. Let me know if you're participating in any knit-alongs or if you got a yarn advent calendar for yourself this year. And yeah, I will try not to make the time between Yarnie updates be as long as it was this time. Like I said, it'll be a little bit easier for me to catch you up now that I have my own like space. And I'm trying not to have to edit as much anymore either, and just kind of be more natural as to how I'm talking to you and presenting things. So yeah, I hope you guys are doing great. Thank you for your patience, and let me know if you've made any of these or if you've used any like yarn from Lolo Did It, or if you've heard of Pineapple Yarn or have used any of her yarns. Yeah, I hope you're all doing great, and until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.